Have you ever wondered what Julius Caesar or Cleopatra really looked like? Not as statues or paintings, but as real, living people. Today, we're using artificial intelligence to bring 20 of the greatest legends in history back to life. From ancient Rome to the electric age, from desert pharaohs to battlefield geniuses, you are about to see history as you've never seen it before. Stay with us, because some of these will absolutely blow your mind.
Julius Caesar was one of the greatest leaders Rome ever had, but he was also one of the most dangerous. He was a brilliant general who conquered the land of Gaul, which is modern-day France, adding huge territories to Rome. He was smart, brave, and very popular with ordinary people. But he became so powerful that the Roman Senate grew frightened. They worried he would make himself a king. So on March 15th, 44 BC, a day called the Ides of March, a group of senators attacked and stabbed him 23 times. Even in death, Julius Caesar changed history. The title Caesar became a title for emperors, and his story inspired leaders and writers for the next 2,000 years. Augustus Caesar. Augustus Caesar started life as a quiet teenager named Octavian. After his great-uncle Julius Caesar was killed, Octavian fought to take control of Rome, and he won. He defeated his enemies, ended years of bloody civil wars, and became Rome's very first emperor at age 32. Under Augustus, Rome enjoyed nearly 40 years of peace, called the Pax Romana, which means Roman peace. He built beautiful temples, roads, and public buildings. He created Rome's first fire brigade and police force. He famously said he found Rome a city of brick and left it a city of marble. That's an amazing achievement for anyone, let alone someone who started as a teenager with no army. Marcus Aurelius was unusual for a Roman emperor. While most rulers spent their time enjoying luxury, Marcus spent his nights writing in a private journal. He wrote about kindness, patience, and how to be a good person. His journal was never meant to be published, but today it's known as Meditations, and millions of people still read it every year. He also spent much of his reign fighting wars on the borders of Rome to protect his people. He was both a warrior and a thinker, a very rare combination. He believed that the best way to handle life's problems was to control your own mind and attitude, not the things happening around you. That wisdom feels just as useful today as it was 1900 years ago.
When most people think of Cleopatra, they think of beauty, but her real superpower was her incredible mind. She was the first ruler in her family's 300-year dynasty to actually bother learning the Egyptian language. She also spoke 8 other languages, including Greek, Hebrew, and more. Cleopatra was a brilliant political thinker. She formed powerful alliances with Rome's greatest generals, Julius Caesar and later Mark Antony, to protect Egypt from being taken over. She was not just a queen, she was a ruler, a diplomat, and a strategist. When her political alliances collapsed and Roman Emperor Augustus was about to capture her, she chose to die on her own terms rather than be paraded through Rome as a prisoner. Imagine being the best artist in the world and the best inventor in the world at the same time. That was Leonardo da Vinci. He painted 2 of the most famous artworks in all of history, the Mona Lisa and the Last Supper. But his private notebooks reveal something even more amazing: designs for flying machines, solar panels, tanks, and even robots, all designed 400 to 500 years before they were actually invented. He was so curious about the human body that he secretly dissected over 30 human bodies to understand exactly how muscles and bones work so he could paint them perfectly. Leonardo didn't just look at the world, he saw through it into what the future could be. He is often called the greatest genius who ever lived. Napoleon Bonaparte grew up on a small French island and was teased at school for his Italian accent. But by age 30, he had made himself Emperor of France, one of the most powerful countries in the world. He was a military genius who won over 60 major battles. He changed the way armies fought by moving troops faster and smarter than anyone expected. But his greatest achievement might actually be something you've never heard of: the Napoleonic Code, a set of laws that reformed legal systems across Europe and still influences laws in France and many other countries today. His downfall was his ambition. He invaded Russia in winter, a catastrophic mistake, and eventually lost everything at the Battle of Waterloo. He died in exile on a tiny island in the South Atlantic.
Genghis Khan. Genghis Khan's early life reads like a very hard movie. As a child, his father was poisoned by enemies. His family was abandoned by their tribe, and he was enslaved as a teenager. From those painful beginnings, he rose to conquer the largest connected land empire in all of history. By his death, he controlled 24 million square kilometers, roughly the size of the entire continent of Africa. He was feared for his military brutality, but inside his empire, he was surprisingly progressive. He guaranteed religious freedom for all people, built one of the world's first postal systems, promoted people based on talent, not family name, and made the Silk Road trade route safe and thriving. Genghis Khan is one of history's most complicated figures, devastating and creative at the same time. Queen Victoria became Queen of England at just 18 years old, younger than most of you reading this will be when they finish school. She went on to reign for 63 years, longer than any British monarch before her. During her reign, the British Empire expanded to cover 1/4 of all the land on Earth and 1/4 of all people. It was called the Empire on which the sun never sets, because it was so large it was always daytime somewhere in it. She oversaw the Industrial Revolution, where machines changed how everything was made and how people lived. When her beloved husband, Prince Albert, died in 1861, Victoria was so heartbroken that she wore black mourning clothes every single day for the remaining 40 years of her life. She was not just a queen, she was a symbol of an entire era. Socrates never wrote a single word. Everything we know about him comes from his students, especially a philosopher named Plato. Yet Socrates is considered the father of Western philosophy, the foundation of how we think and reason even today. He spent his days walking around Athens, asking people questions: generals, politicians, poets, craftsmen. Through careful questions, he would show them that they actually didn't know as much as they thought they did. This method of learning through questions is now called the Socratic method, and it is still used in schools and law courts around the world. This habit made young people love him, but powerful people fear him. In 399 BC, he was put on trial, found guilty of corrupting the youth, and sentenced to death. He was given the chance to escape and refused. He drank poison rather than give up his principles. Joan of Arc was 17 years old, had never held a sword, and had no military training. Yet she convinced the future king of France to give her an army, and then she actually led it into battle and won. Joan claimed she heard the voices of saints telling her to save France from English rule. Whether you believe that or not, what happened next is extraordinary. She led French troops to lift the siege of the city of Orleans in just 9 days, a siege that had been going on for months. She was eventually captured, sold to the English, and put on trial for heresy and witchcraft. She defended herself brilliantly against trained theologians without any education. She was burned at the stake at age 19. 25 years later, a new trial completely cleared her name. Today, she is a saint and the national hero of France.
In an age when war meant massacre and no mercy, Saladin was different. He was the Sultan of Egypt and Syria who united the divided Muslim world and, in 1187, recaptured the city of Jerusalem from the Crusaders. But how he took Jerusalem is the most remarkable part. When the Christian Crusaders captured Jerusalem in 1099, they massacred thousands of people. When Saladin took it back 88 years later, he ordered mercy. He allowed civilians to leave safely and even helped pay the ransom of those who could not afford to leave. His generosity was so legendary that even his Christian enemies, including the fierce English king Richard the Lionheart, admired and respected him deeply. The two men, enemies in war, sent each other gifts of respect. Saladin showed the world that strength and kindness are not opposites. Imagine leaving home at age 17 for a journey so long that you wouldn't return for 24 years, and you didn't even have a phone to call your family. That's exactly what Marco Polo did. In 1271, he set off from Venice with his father and uncle across Persia, Central Asia, and into China. He served in the court of the great Mongol Emperor Kublai Khan for 17 years, traveling extensively across China and Southeast Asia. When he finally returned to Venice, nobody believed his stories. He described things no European had ever seen: paper money, coal used as fuel, and cities so grand and clean they seemed impossible. He was later captured in a war and thrown in prison. There, he dictated his travels to a fellow prisoner, and the result was a book that inspired Christopher Columbus to set sail and discover the Americas. Ramesses II ruled Egypt for 66 years, fathered over 100 children, and built more temples and monuments than any pharaoh before or after him. He was so great that he's simply called Ramesses the Great. He fought the Battle of Kadesh, one of the earliest battles ever recorded in history, against the Hittites. Rather than fight forever, Ramesses negotiated what is considered the world's first peace treaty. A copy of that treaty still hangs in the United Nations building in New York today. His most amazing creation is the Temple of Abu Simbel. It was carved directly into a mountainside and engineered so precisely that the rising sun shines through a narrow corridor deep inside the temple on exactly 2 days every year, his birthday and his coronation day. That's engineering genius from 3,200 years ago. Almost everything that runs on electricity in your home today exists because of Nikola Tesla. The power outlets in your wall use his system of alternating current, the same system he invented over 130 years ago. He held over 300 patents and invented the foundations for radio, X-ray technology, neon lighting, and remote control, all decades before other people claimed credit for them. He even dreamed of creating a global system for sharing energy wirelessly, an idea that sounds eerily similar to the internet today. But despite all this genius, Tesla's story is heartbreaking. His rival, Thomas Edison, worked to destroy his reputation. His investor, J.P. Morgan, abandoned him. He spent his final years alone in a New York hotel room, penniless and in debt. History has since corrected itself. Today, the world's most famous electric car company is named after him, and his legacy shines brighter than ever. George Washington could have been a king. After leading a ragged, underfunded army to defeat the most powerful military in the world, Great Britain, the American people were ready to crown him. He said no. At the brutal winter camp of Valley Forge, with soldiers dying of cold and starvation, Washington refused to leave his men. He stayed, trained, and inspired them until they could fight again. After the war, he gave up his military power and returned to his farm. Then, after becoming America's first president, a role he was unanimously elected to, he voluntarily stepped down after 2 terms. No one had ever seen a leader do that. England's King George III reportedly said that if Washington truly gave up power, he will be the greatest man in the world. He did, and by that measure, perhaps he was. Catherine the Great was born a German princess with absolutely no claim to the Russian throne. Yet, through intelligence, charm, and sheer determination, she became the Empress of Russia and one of the most powerful rulers in the world. In 1762, she organized a coup against her own husband, Tsar Peter III, took control of Russia, and ruled for the next 36 years. She was not the kind of leader to sit back and enjoy power. She worked extremely hard. She expanded Russia's territory by 200,000 square miles, gaining access to the Black Sea and dominating Eastern Europe. She built schools for girls at a time when women's education was rare. She corresponded with great thinkers like Voltaire and Diderot. She founded the renowned Hermitage Museum in St. Petersburg, one of the world's greatest art museums today. She transformed Russia from a struggling empire into a European superpower. Sun Tzu wrote one of the shortest and most powerful books in all of history. The Art of War is just 13 chapters long. You could probably read it in an afternoon. But those chapters contain wisdom that military leaders, business people, sports coaches, and politicians have used for 2,500 years. His most famous idea was this: the best victory is the one you achieve without fighting at all. A truly great leader uses strategy, intelligence, and psychology to win, not just strength and weapons. He believed in knowing your enemy as well as you know yourself. He taught that speed, surprise, and adaptability are more powerful than raw force. Napoleon studied him, Mao Zedong studied him, modern business schools teach him, NFL coaches quote him. Sun Tzu's 2,500-year-old words are still shaping decisions in boardrooms and battle rooms around the world today. 8. Have you ever called someone lonely? Or said something was obscene, generous, or bedroom? You can thank William Shakespeare, because he invented all of those words. Shakespeare invented over 1,700 words in the English language. If he hadn't written them down, we might not have them today. He wrote 37 plays and 154 sonnets that cover every human emotion imaginable. The tragedy of Hamlet losing his father, the comedy of mischievous fairies in A Midsummer Night's Dream, the ambition and guilt of Macbeth, the young love of Romeo and Juliet. Almost nothing is known about Shakespeare's personal life, where he went to school, who he loved, what he looked like. This mystery has led to centuries of debate about who he really was. Some people even argue he didn't write his own plays. Some mysteries make a legend even greater. 20. For over 1,000 years, people believed that the Earth sat at the center of the universe and everything orbited around it. The Church taught this. Scientists accepted it. Then Galileo Galilei pointed a telescope at the sky and proved it was all wrong. He didn't invent the telescope, but he was the first person to use it to study the heavens and understand what he was seeing. He discovered 4 moons orbiting Jupiter, observed the phases of Venus, and mapped the craters on our moon, all providing strong evidence that the Earth moves around the sun, not the other way around. The Catholic Church, whose authority partly depended on Earth being the center of everything, was furious. In 1633, at age 69, Galileo was put on trial, forced to say his findings were wrong, and imprisoned in his own home for the rest of his life. But the Earth kept moving, and Galileo was right all along. Thomas Edison held 1,093 patents, more than any other inventor in American history. But his most important achievement wasn't a single invention. It was inventing the idea of a research laboratory, a team of people working together to solve problems and invent new things. He invented the phonograph, the first device to record and play back sound. He developed the practical light bulb, and more importantly, created the world's first electrical power station to actually supply electricity to homes and businesses. Edison famously said that genius is 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration, meaning hard work matters far more than just having a clever idea. He reportedly slept only 4 hours a night and worked through the rest. His bitter rivalry with Nikola Tesla over how to distribute electricity, the War of Currents, is one of the most dramatic feuds in science history. Tesla won the technical battle, but Edison won lasting fame. Both changed the world forever. And there they are, 20 of the most legendary figures who ever walked this earth, brought back to life through the power of artificial intelligence. From the sand-dusted battlefields of ancient Egypt, to the rain-soaked hills of France, to the electric laboratories of the 19th century America, these were real people. They had fears, made mistakes, worked incredibly hard, and changed the world for everyone who came after them. History is not just the past, it is a mirror, and in their faces, we see what humans are truly capable of. If you found this journey as amazing as we did, please like this video, subscribe to Restored Past, and share it with someone who loves history. We bring a new chapter of history to life every single week. Until then, keep exploring, keep asking questions, and never stop looking back to move forward.